Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this office hours session. My name is Brian Blacker. I am the director of our product and client solutions team at PolicyMap. Today at the office hours session, we're excited to show you all a sneak peek of our revamped reports, and specifically kind of going through a walkthrough of the new community profile report. Just as we're kind of getting started and folks are finishing with joining the webinar, just a couple of housekeeping items. So this webinar is being recorded, so it will be shared afterwards. A follow-up email will be sent with the video and any additional information from the webinar. This is a GoToWebinar format, so everyone's line will be muted. If you have any questions or problems with the webinar, you can use the chat feature on the GoTo tool. And we will go through a Q&A session at the end to go through any questions that folks are posting into that chat feature as we go through. So everyone should, at the moment, just be seeing a just kind of the default view in PolicyMap. I'm going to start by just kind of laying out the goals for this session. So we are going to do kind of for any users who are on the call who are a little bit newer to PolicyMap, haven't been using the tool for quite as long. We are going to be doing a little bit of level setting, doing a quick walkthrough of creating a custom region and generating a report in the live PolicyMap environment, so the PolicyMap production environment, just to kind of show what that workflow looks like. Then we'll use that as kind of a launch point to outline what the key objectives were for us at PolicyMap as we were kind of thinking about the development of these new versions of the reports in PolicyMap. Then we'll do a walkthrough of the new community profile report on a testing site. And then we'll kind of wrap up by talking about the rollout plan for the revamped reports. So yeah, just as a reminder, this is, when we get into the walkthrough of the new community profile report on the testing site, it's just in a testing environment. So it's not something that's going to be available on PolicyMap today if you go into, if you log into PolicyMap on the production site, but we'll talk about the rollout at the end. So let's get started. We'll, like I said, we'll do a little bit of level setting with going through the workflow of creating a custom region and then generating a community profile report in the live production environment first. So you can create reports in PolicyMap for standard geographies as well that you either search for in the location search. Or if you have data on the map and you select a particular location, you can generate reports for those kind of standard geographies as well. So for example, if I put in Harrisburg into this location search, it'll navigate me to City of Harrisburg, show me that boundary, and then you'll see the little reports button right there. And so if I wanted to generate a report for City of Harrisburg, I can select one of those options and it will generate a report and populate data. But you can also generate reports for your own custom defined area of interest using a custom region. So the custom region button is going to be just to the right of this location search. And so the first tab will see any custom regions that you have previously created that are saved under your account. And then if you use this second tab, this is where you can go and create a new custom region. So you can create it. There's a few different ways to create new custom regions. You can draw on the map by just connecting dots. You can use the assembled region to assemble geographies or boundaries like zip codes or counties or census tracts. You can also do a radius region, which is where you set a radius distance around a point on the map or a specific address. So if I go ahead and use this assembled region option, so it will, this allows me to create the assembled region using one of the boundaries that are available from this dropdown. So if I wanted to, for example, create a custom region for a set of zip code areas around the Harrisburg area, I can choose from this boundary dropdown to change over to zip code areas. And then I can start to select zip codes on the map. It'll highlight them orange after I've clicked on them and added them to my custom region. It'll also list them over here in the assembled region menu. So after you've added any boundaries that you'd like to your assembled custom region, click on continue, and then you just save this as a new custom region. So we could call this Harrisburg area zip codes. You can change the transparency on this. You can also change it to a different color if you'd like. And then once you save that, it'll be added to your custom region menu. And that's something that you can come back to in the future. It'll be available under your, under this menu in your saved work. You can come back and edit it in the future. You can also, share a copy with other users as well. So now that I've created my custom region, similar to kind of generating the report for the city of Harrisburg, I can now generate one of our reports for this custom region. So I'll generate a community profile. And again, this is in the live, production PolicyMap site. So you're going to see the current community profile that's available. So it shows me a little preview of the report area, and I click on generate report. So it's going to start populating the data into the community profile report. And as I scroll down through this, it gives us a little bit of that geographic context, the different areas and boundaries that it touches. And then it gets into the actual data, population information, population by race, ethnicity, age distribution, households by income level, kind of on and on and on down through this existing community profile report. So this has always been one of the more kind of powerful features in PolicyMap because of these on-the-fly data aggregations that happen in the report. So it's, generating these kinds of calculations outside of PolicyMap would be difficult and time consuming because you have to have the custom region crosswalk to standard census boundaries, link it to underlying data, and then kind of roll it up to data aggregations. And kind of all of that is happening in the background when you generate one of these community profile reports for a custom region that you make in the tool. So, but as you can see, I think the community profile has always been probably the most heavily used of the PolicyMap reports. But this existing community profile template, has some limitations, and it was due for an update. So when we were kind of thinking and planning around the development of sort of a revamped version of the reports, some of the key objectives that we set out to accomplish was providing more data visualizations. So kind of moving away from showing the data in more of these kind of tabular kind of formats to offering other data visualization options. Also making them more modular so that users could really kind of make the report their own in different ways. We also wanted to provide the ability to extract specific kind of pieces of content from within this kind of lengthy report. There is a lot of data that gets captured in the community profile report, and sometimes folks are just interested in kind of one or two pieces. The last couple of things that were kind of key objectives was in incorporating some navigational improvements, just to kind of for a better user experience, and then also introducing AI insights or summaries throughout the new version of the report. So all that kind of being said, we will now kind of transition over to walking through the new version of the community profile on that testing site. So I am going to switch over to a new tab. And so now I am in the testing environment where we have the new version of the report available. I have a similar custom region set up, just kind of assembled zip code areas around Harrisburg. And so now if I click on my custom region, I'm going to select the reports button again, and I will generate the community profile. So once I've selected to generate the community profile, it kind of populates the report pretty much immediately. Again, at the top, we'll see the report area. And then, so now I'll kind of go through and kind of highlight some of the improvements that you'll see in the new version of the report. So we'll start off on the, just in terms of some of the navigational improvements. So on the left-hand side, you'll kind of see like basically the outline, kind of the table of contents for the whole report. As I scroll down through the different modules that are in here, you'll see that it's, moves down this navigational pane showing me, which section of the report I'm in. I can also use this as a place to kind of jump to another section of the report that I'm interested in. So if I want to kind of jump to some of the indicators related to income and poverty, I can select that section. I can hop back and forth, between some of these different sections of the report. And so then in terms of like making it your own, all of these sections of the report you'll see are toggleable. So if I go back up to the top and maybe I'm not, as interested in, talking about or including the geographic context, I can hide that section. Maybe I want my population by age distribution to come before race and ethnicity. I can select age distribution, drag that one up above, and now that one's going to populate or show up underneath my population trends. I could turn off additional sections as well. So maybe I want to hide a couple more things, just narrow it down to specific sections that are most interesting to me or that I'm kind of most concerned at looking at. If I want to turn them back on, I just turn those toggles back on. You can also change your report title. So obviously the default is going to be community profile, but let's say I was interested in creating for this specific region, a report about key economic indicators. Maybe I just want to change it to key economic indicators. And then, turn off some of the more demographic oriented sections, just focus on income and poverty, vacancy, employment. And now I've kind of, fully changed this from being sort of a more kind of broad speaking community profile to something that is, really specific to those key economic indicators. I'll turn a couple of these sections back on, and the other piece that you'll see in terms of making it your own is that within each of these content modules, you can also change the visualizations. So you'll see there's different visualization options. So in most cases, there's like a default view that you'll see that seems to be kind of a good representation of the indicators that are part of that specific module. But if I wanted to change my population by age distribution, for example, from a pie chart to a column chart, I can change it using these view options up kind of at the top of that module block. Similarly, I can choose, to change my family composition into a bar chart, or using some of these just kind of more like dashboard card visualizations. I can always go back to table. Pretty much all the modules have a table option as well. And you'll see these are all, interactive. As you're kind of hovering over things, you'll see the different values. And so as you're going through, you're making any kind of changes and really kind of making the report your own. If you ever need to kind of restore everything back to all the default options, at the bottom, you'll see a link or a button that allows you to restore the default report. And then it kind of just brings all your sections kind of back, all the ordering back to, what it was at the very beginning. and all of those content sort of views or visualizations are all set back to the default as well. So one of the other objectives was to allow for individual pieces to be kind of extracted out of this longer report. That's also something that you can do. So each of these modules you'll see has a little download button where you can export the chart or whatever kind of view you have set. You can export that as a PDF or as an image. You can also download the data itself that's populating that chart as a CSV. So in addition to that, the other piece that I had mentioned is introducing AI insights. And so each of these pieces of kind of content or each of these modules will also have a button here, which allows you to generate AI insights. And so, for example, for this custom region, looking at this particular section on households by annual income, if I click on the Generate AI Insights button, it will start to populate some summary level kind of takeaways, talking about comparisons of your report area to the state benchmark. For those that also have like trend information, kind of it will provide some insights on change over time. So whenever you kind of have one of these AI summaries included, if you want to make any edits to it, you can click on the little edit button, add additional detail here. Click on done if you just want to save that. Any edits that you've made, you can also click to regenerate the summary just to kind of have it repopulate with a new AI summary. And once you've made any edits, it will just flag, that it was like an edited summary as well. So you can, there are also a couple of kind of new content sections that were added in here. So under income and poverty, we did add poverty trends. This is not something that is part of the current community profile. We also added a transportation module on commute type so that you can see population by what percentage drove to work or walked to work or worked from home. So that was just another content module that was added. And so similar to the existing community profile, if I go all the way back up to the top, you will see that any of these, with this new report, if you want to save it, you can click on that. That'll save it into your workspace. It'll save all of those options that you had selected in terms of what sections it includes and any sort of different views that you had set for across the different modules. You can come back to that and reopen it in a future session. You can also export it, download basically the whole report as a PDF. And that'll include all sections, any AI summaries that were included. And then what you may have noticed is that the report page itself is also a little bit updated as part of the kind of the release of these revamped reports. So if I, it'll tell me at the very top that I'm looking at the community profile for this specific location, my Harrisburg area, custom region. You can expand this to clicking that show options button. This is just like a expandable and collapsible menu now. But if you wanted to change to a different location, you can set a different location here. So if I wanted to, switch this to Dauphin County, PA, I can do that really quickly. basically just kind of repopulates the report with new data now for the county that I had selected. So this kind of makes it really easy just to kind of toggle, create a report, set different options, but then maybe I want to have kind of that same exact report, but just kind of go to a different location. It can just quickly change to a different location using the location search. And then this is where you can also hide those options as well. So hopefully that gives everyone just kind of a good sense of kind of what this new version of the community profile looks like, and kind of what we were going for in terms of the development of these revamped reports. So the last thing that I will touch on kind of before we transition to Q&A is just talking a little bit about the rollout of these reports. So we are going to be gradually rolling these out. So this new community profile report, we are planning to go live with it in the next week. Then once that release happens, the community profile report will reflect this new version. The other reports that are available in PolicyMap will still be available. So the rental housing report, the community health report, the home mortgage report, but they will be in kind of the legacy format for kind of the immediate term. Then we will start working through updating and kind of releasing new versions of those other reports. And so the next one up is going to be the community health report. We're anticipating being able to release the new community health report in late April, early May timeframe, and then we'll move on to releasing a new version of a housing report that includes the rental and the home mortgage data. So that's kind of the plan in terms of rolling these out, but we're excited to be able to release this new community profile version in the next week. And just an important note, so when the new community profile is released, any previously saved community profile reports, so anything that may be in your saved workspace that are kind of like saved community profiles, those will, if you kind of go to your saved workspace and open up one of those saved community profile reports, it will automatically regenerate in this new format when you access it. But if anyone is wanting to save a copy of like a community profile in the legacy format, we do recommend saving it locally as a PDF file. So kind of going into PolicyMap and generating it, saving it, and just kind of exporting a PDF of that in the next week before the release happens, because those kind of legacy formats are going to be sort of deprecated after this new version goes out. So again, we will be releasing this in the next week, and we're very excited to kind of hear the feedback and hear how folks are using this new version. And we're really excited and looking forward to hearing that from everybody. So.
All right, this is super exciting. Everyone's excited. Some really good questions. Thank you for covering regards of saving the legacy reports in case anyone needs it. So let me try to go through a couple of really good questions, but everyone seems to be really excited. One is from Sebastian about the overlap of census tracts with the custom regions. Just wanting to figure out or understand what qualifies data for inclusion in that custom region for the reports.
Yeah, it's a good question. So let me toggle back to the custom region report. So, so folks may have noticed, so when we generated the community profile report for this custom region, that when you generate one of these reports for a custom region, and this is the case in kind of the legacy format as well, or kind of what's currently available in PolicyMap, that obviously data isn't like released from the census or released from these sources at these kind of custom region boundaries, right? And so what the report is doing is that it's kind of identifying sort of underlying boundaries for which data is available, like census tracts or block groups or zip code areas, and it's identifying, which of those underlying boundaries fall within that custom region that you created, whether it was a radius or a drawn area, and then it is aggregating and creating estimates for your custom region for those kind of smaller boundaries that fall within it. So all of that is kind of summarized. Like when you go and look under any of these modules, you'll see, that it's aggregating data, and it kind of gives you this breakout by time period that it's using for the 2020-2024 estimates, the 8 zip code areas. For these timeframes, it's using zip code areas. For the older timeframe, it's using block group areas. And so typically kind of we have different rules around what underlying boundaries are included when you create a custom region and generate a report. Um, Typically, if you create an assembled custom region, like in this case, I assembled zip code areas. And so as long as the data is available for those zip code areas, then it's going to just use zip code area data when it's aggregating and showing estimated values. Um, but if the data is not available for that assembled geography or those assembled boundaries, then it will use something. Typically it goes to something smaller. It tries to find like what block groups or tracks sort of fall within the overall region. So that's a little bit of the background. And so you'll see that in the new report. And then at the very bottom, we have the endnotes, which kind of summarize, what boundaries were used for the different data aggregations, just so that they are listed out there. This little note here also, I think, kind of addresses the heart of the question, which is how does the report sort of decide if I draw a radius or just draw something on the map? How does the report decide what like census tracts or block groups to use? And so at PolicyMap, what we've always used, so this is the case in the community profile and the other reports currently on production, but it's also going to be the case with the new versions of the reports, is that it uses like a very kind of basic 50% rule. So if I draw the radius or I draw my custom region, it's obviously going to have sort of, it's not going to align perfectly with like a census tract boundary or different block group boundaries. So the report will include like an underlying block group or census tract in the data aggregations if more than 50% of the tract or the block group falls within your report area that you created. So it's that same kind of basic 50% rule. And again, that's been the case for these reports previously, kind of I think as long as we've had them available. And so we're carrying through that same logic even into the new reports. But it's down here and it's explained in the endnotes, and each module will kind of tell you like how it aggregated data. So you'll be able to see that detail.
All right. That's always an in-depth question to
I love
answer.
it. Love the
Yeah.
weeds.
Yeah. A good question from Curtis about, is it possible to include custom data sets like city parcel data in the report if it's already uploaded to PolicyMap? So I guess this is about custom boundaries or so.
Yeah, not, I wouldn't say that's something that is available right now. So if you, like, it wouldn't be something like if you had uploaded your own data, typically not, it's not going to be kind of available as something that you can just kind of include in the report. Um, so I would say though that, okay, so maybe answering this question in a slightly different way is that if we have like, if as part of your subscription to PolicyMap, you have like sent us a custom boundary that we've incorporated into PolicyMap for you. So sometimes we have like subscribers that send us some sort of boundary like their city council district boundaries, or um, something like their like neighborhood areas within their city or county or something along those lines. Those types of boundaries you can use to generate the new community profile report. Um, the same way that you can generate the community profile report in PolicyMap today, like in the production site. So we typically have those up as like a polygon layer. You can then sort of like select a neighborhood or select a council district, and then generate one of these community profiles for it. But as far as, I've used the, like a data loader and uploaded like my own point data set of projects or something like that within my area of interest, and then want to kind of have those like summarized in some way into the community profile report. That kind of thing is not really something that's available. It's really kind of just those um, content modules that uh, are using PolicyMap's data.
Perfect. Nice. Question from Sebastian regarding comparison geographies, and if there's an option to choose different geographies, and maybe it's a good chance to talk about the baseline comparison, which that we'll
Mhm.
hopefully have in the future.
Yeah, so for right now, so you'll see, throughout that the default is really using the state as like the default benchmark. So it's, your report area, and then typically it's really using the state in which your report area falls. That's like the benchmark value. Um, and so we did end up going with the state as sort of the default benchmark, really to be able to maximize kind of like modularity and to be able to maximize the different types of data visualizations that you can use. If you start to kind of allow for other benchmark areas, it becomes a bit challenging to offer as many types of kind of data visualizations, especially when you potentially, right, it's like an outlier, but you potentially with a custom region have the ability to like create a report area that has like 25 counties or something, like kind of spans across 25 counties or something like that. So the state is the default, but what we're hoping to introduce in the future with kind of across these reports is the ability to define like your own benchmark. So the same way that you would set your report area, as either like a predefined location or a custom region, that you would also be able to set your own benchmark region or benchmark area. And that could be like a specific city, or that could be a county or zip code, or it could be another custom region that you have in your saved work, so that you could kind of create multiple custom regions and compare them kind of against each other, or kind of have your secondary region as like the benchmark. So that's the kind of more in kind of like a V2 once we kind of transition all of the existing policy map reports over to sort of this new format and this new version. But that's what we're hoping to do in the future. But for right now, it's really using the state as the benchmark area.
Awesome. Some very interested people regarding some of the AI capabilities. Elizabeth Nash wanted to know uh,
I know that name.
who are what we are using as the AI model for our tool, and
Mhm.
I th- I think in conjunction with that, people are just generally asking about. Uh, Yeah, looking for market context. Hold on, let me grab the other one. Here we go. Yeah, Liz wanted to know what model we're using, and then someone else wanted to find out how are we describing the use of AI for transparency in the tool.
Yeah, so Elizabeth, former policy mapper. So good to hear from Elizabeth. So for what model we're using, let me go up to that section where I can just generate a new one. So for what model that we're using, so we're using OpenAI, and we're using their API at the moment. We are we My understanding of this, and this gets into a little bit of the technical weeds that are where I'm maybe not the expert, where I'm definitely not the expert. But my understanding is that we've basically kind of built this so that we can kind of move to different models and different model providers pretty seamlessly. Um, Within sort of the OpenAI model, which one we're like which specific model we're using, I don't know off the top of my head, but we can find out. Um, but so that's at least kind of the model provider that we're using. The Just in terms of like how the AI summaries are generated, um, the so for each content section, the what's populated in the data visualizations is all kind of just being taken, sort of like a snapshot of that is kind of being taken and then sent through the OpenAI API service, and then it's kind of coming back. So that there was some intentional development that was done there to reduce like the possibility of getting totally random stuff, and sort of like a very, like either inaccurate or kind of like the AI trying to like estimate values or something along those lines. Like we're feeding the actual values that are populating into this chart. It's almost like taking a data export from this chart, sending it to OpenAI, and then getting like a summary of those values back. So that was kind of the intentional development that happened in order to get like accurate insights and summaries. So, um, but yeah, so that's at least kind of what we're using, and but we can also follow up with what specific model from OpenAI we're currently using. Um, and then what was the other question, Phil?
It's regarding a bit of transparency of how it's being used. I think maybe the concern is if there's any kind of hallucinations or maybe how data is being used in that.
Yeah, I don't know that we have anything sort of explicit about that. I mean, everything that's being used is just kind of fully contained within the report. Like I said, it's pretty much like I was kind of talking about. It's literally kind of like taking a data extract from each module and then kind of sending it to the API and getting back a summary. So it's pretty contained, and it's really just kind of like interpreting the values and providing like a little bit of an insight and summary of what it's showing. Um, so so it's not really being used. Um, yeah, so hopefully that kind of at least gives folks some sense of kind of how the data is kind of being sent to the model and kind of how it's coming back and that kind of thing. So, um, but yeah, I'm sure that's a partial answer, but hopefully that at least kind of addresses it to some extent.
No, that's great. That's actually really great. I think we have maybe one or two more questions. One is about one of the more complex tables. I think it was is are we Cynthia wanted to know if are we able to stratify the employment and housing data by race and ethnicity?
So it depends. So not within the report currently. Again, it's like really the content within the new report is just based on, we're essentially trying to achieve kind of parity with what, data and indicators were available in the legacy version of the community profile report, but then also kind of adding a couple of new modules and those kinds of things. So we don't have a module for that currently in terms of like, um, having some of these like employment and housing by race ethnicity. But we're going to be continuing now that as we kind of move into this new kind of like new paradigm as far as how these reports work. We're going to be adding kind of new content as we go, to these reports as well. So, I'd anticipate that, in the future we'll be able to add those new content modules as we get those kinds of requests. As long as we have the data. So, like for example, like housing tenure, home ownership rates, and stuff like that by race, ethnicity, like that is data that we do have in the platform, and so that is like a type of module that we could add. So as long as we have the underlying data, um, we can definitely consider adding more modules to these report templates as well. So yeah, but for right now, it's kind of the content modules that we're seeing now in here are going to be what's available in this initial release.
Awesome. If there are any other questions, just a couple final ones, but if any other questions are available, as you can see, just type them into the chat. We're definitely answering as we go through. Just a bit of a follow-up question from a Bernie regarding about um, additional reports or updates to the reports again. I think you mentioned that we are rolling out updates to the current reports. And I wonder the question is, are there other reports coming?
So yeah, so we're going to prioritize sort of the release of the other existing reports. So the health report would be next, and then the housing reports. We have talked about other reports as well, kind of providing like other report templates. Nothing is set in stone at this point, so I wouldn't want to kind of get anybody's like sort of hopes up or kind of say anything that sort of is sort of too much like vaporware. But yeah, we have talked about adding some other report templates as well. But we at least feel like once we have the community profile and the health report and a kind of a robust housing report available, that covers our bases pretty well in terms of you know, a lot of the data that we have available in PolicyMap. Um, but but yeah, we'll definitely be looking at adding new reports in the future too.
All right. I think that's it, unless there's any other additional questions. There are some just general follow-ups about some of the AI questions we have, so we'll follow up with those a little more directly. I think some of the answers probably benefit from things being written out for people in general.
Hmm.
I think that's it. Let me double check. Question is from Lisa. Is there a way to request other modules for the community profile report? Oh, I see. Yeah, adding other data to a report, um, like language and religion and such.
Yeah, I think yeah, like I said, I think definitely send us any of that feedback. And I think yeah, we would definitely be open to that feedback and consider adding those in the future. So we'll have we'll have this version of the community profile report kind of will be the initial release, and then we'll you know start tackling the other existing reports that we have to port over from sort of the more legacy formats and kind of making these same sort of the modularity and the additional visualizations and all that stuff available. So but after that, I mean, yeah, I think we are open to that kind of feedback, and so just sending it through like our info at PolicyMap or through the feedback link at the top of PolicyMap up here. That's always going to come through to us and our team. Um, so yeah, we're open to those suggestions, and we can definitely consider adding new modules.
I'm trying to go through some of these last minute questions. Um, Question is, does the community profile report primarily use the census data?
So it uses a lot of census data, and then There are a couple of sections though, like the vacancy data comes from, this one is from Velasas List, so that's one of the proprietary data sets that we license on residential and business vacancy. And then the employment section has unemployment rates from Bureau of Labor Statistics. So that's another kind of like non-census source. I would say that I think pretty much the rest of these sections do primarily use census data. So that's the main, and it's kind of always been the case. And kind of makes sense just given the nature of kind of what this report is trying to show. It's, key demographic and economic indicators. But the health report uses a lot more kind of like a variety of different data sources from like CDC and HRSA and some census data as well. So that one's going to have a lot more data sources that are captured in it.
All right. I think that's it. Faith wanted to make sure that users know how to give us feedback in case there's any questions about using the tool. And I'm guessing they can just use the feedback form in the very top.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, that feedback form up here is where you would do it. It just doesn't work from a testing site, but
That's right.
it's yeah. But if you're in PolicyMap in the live production environment, that feedback form will just open up like a web form where you can send feedback.
Oh, just some last minute questions as we're going through. Lisa just wanted to know how frequently would it make sense to rerun a community profile report? So I guess part of the question is how often or when
Mhm.
does data get updated in our reports?
Yeah, so the ACS data, which is going to be like a lot of sections in here, those just have like an annual update. So that's the source, that underlying source data just gets updated once a year, and so that won't necessarily kind of change, like unless you're changing your custom region or you're changing kind of like your report location. Um, if it's sort of the same report area, that data changes less frequently. The vacancy and the unemployment rate data does get quarterly updates, so that one will have some updates that happen a little bit more frequently.
Okay, I think that is it. Really good Q&A from everyone. Everyone's excited. Lots of cool features coming through. I'll let you wrap it up.
Cool. So yeah, appreciate everybody taking the time just to join us and see this sneak peek. And yeah, we're just kind of dotting some I's, crossing some T's just to kind of get this first community profile report finished up and getting it released. But like I said, we're excited to get it up there and get it out to subscribers to start using it, and welcome any of the feedback that folks have as they start exploring this new version of the tool. But yeah, we're hoping that everyone really gets a lot out of it, and that everyone is kind of pleased with these updates and new features and functionality. So thanks again for joining, and yeah, please feel free to send us any questions and feedback on this session or the new report once it goes live. So, and more communication from us as we roll out the other reports as well to the new format.